There is a special kind of exhaustion that comes from fighting battles you were never meant to fight. You lie awake at night replaying a conversation, trying to control what someone else thinks of you. You check your phone every few minutes, waiting for a reply that will tell you whether you're safe or not. You rehearse arguments for situations that haven't happened yet, bracing yourself against a future you cannot see and cannot touch. And underneath all of it is this quiet, grinding anxiety that never seems to fully go away, because you are trying to hold on to things that were never yours to hold in the first place. Almost 2,000 years ago, a man who had been born into slavery figured out the exact reason why. His name was Epictetus, and the idea he taught is so simple that people often hear it once and dismiss it, and so powerful that the people who actually absorb it describe it as one of the most liberating realizations of their lives. The idea is this: some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. And almost all of your anxiety every single day comes from confusing the two. Stay with me for the next half hour, because I'm going to walk you through exactly what this means, why it works, and how to actually use it the next time your mind starts spiraling. If this idea lands for you the way it's landed for millions of people over the centuries, do me a favor and hit that like button right now, just so I know this kind of content is actually helping you. And subscribe, because we're building something here. There are hundreds of people walking this self-improvement path together in this channel, learning how to think more clearly and suffer less, and I'd love for you to be one of them. And before you keep watching, I want you to do one more thing. Down in the comments, write down the specific anxiety you're carrying right now. Not a vague feeling, the actual thing. Because here's something almost nobody tells you. The moment you put a fear into words and actually write it down, it gets smaller. It stops being this shapeless cloud hanging over your whole day and becomes a specific, nameable thing. Specific things can be examined. Vague dread cannot. So take 15 seconds, write it in the comments, and then let's get into this. Epictetus was born around 55 AD in what is now central Turkey. He was enslaved as a child, brought to Rome, and belonged to a wealthy secretary of the Emperor Nero. And here's the detail people forget. Epictetus was reportedly lamed, possibly from an injury inflicted by his owner, possibly from illness. Either way, he spent much of his life with a damaged leg, walking with difficulty in a body that did not obey him the way he wished it would. Eventually, he gained his freedom and became one of the most respected Stoic teachers in the ancient world, running a school in Nicopolis that drew students from across the Roman Empire, including eventually a future emperor. Now think about that for a second. This is not a man writing to you from a position of comfort, telling you to relax because everything is fine. This is a man who had his freedom taken from him by force, who lived with chronic pain, who had every external reason to be consumed with anxiety and resentment. And yet the teaching that survives him, compiled by his student Arian into a text called the Discourses and a short manual called the Enchiridion, opens with what might be the single most useful paragraph in the history of practical philosophy. He divides everything in existence, everything you could possibly worry about, into exactly two categories. The first category is what he calls things that are up to us. This is a very short list. It includes your judgments, your intentions, your desires, your aversions, and in short, whatever is truly your own doing. The second category is everything else: your body, your health, your reputation, your possessions, your career, other people's opinions of you, the weather, the past, the future, whether people like you, whether you get the promotion, whether the plane is on time, whether your kids make good choices, whether the person you love loves you back the way you want them to. According to Epictetus, none of that is actually up to you. It can be influenced by you, sometimes strongly influenced, but it is not, in the end, within your control. It can be taken from you by forces entirely outside yourself. And here is the sentence that the entire philosophy hinges on, the one that, if you actually absorb it, changes how anxiety operates in your body. He said that if you think things which are naturally not under your control are your own, and what belongs to others is your own, you will be hindered, you will grieve, you will be in turmoil, and you will blame both gods and men. But if you think that only which is your own belongs to you, and that what is another's is another's, no one will ever compel you, no one will hinder you, You will blame no one. You will accuse no one. You will do nothing against your will. No one will harm you. You will have no enemy, for you will not suffer any harm. Let that sit for a moment, because it sounds almost too simple to be the answer to something as heavy as chronic anxiety. But watch how it plays out in an actual human mind, because this is where it stops being philosophy and starts being medicine. Think about the last time you felt truly anxious. Not mildly annoyed, actually anxious, that tight feeling in your chest, the racing thoughts, the inability to focus on anything else. Now ask yourself honestly, what was the object of that anxiety? Was it something entirely within your own judgment and will? Or was it something outside of you, something you were trying to control that was never actually yours to control? Maybe you were anxious about a job interview. Notice that preparing for it, researching the company, practicing your answers, choosing what to wear, showing up on time, being honest and clear when you speak, every single one of those actions is up to you. But whether they choose you over the other candidates, whether the interviewer likes your energy, whether the position even still exists in 6 months, none of that is up to you. It never was. And so if your anxiety is actually about the outcome, about being chosen, about being liked, about the result landing a certain way, you are, in Epictetus's terms, grieving over something that was never yours in the first place. You've reached your hand into a category of life that was never handed to you, and you're trying to grip smoke. Or maybe your anxiety is about what someone thinks of you. A friend hasn't texted back. A colleague seemed distant in a meeting. Your partner has been quiet for 2 days. Notice again what is actually yours here. Your own honesty, your own kindness. Whether you communicated clearly, whether you behaved with integrity, that's yours. But the actual thoughts happening inside another person's head, their mood, their interpretation of your words, whether they decide to like you or not on any given day, that has never once been within your control, not for a single moment in human history. You can influence it. You cannot own it. And anxiety, almost by definition, is the sensation of trying to grip something you cannot actually hold. This is the whole trick, and it's worth saying plainly. Anxiety is not a punishment for caring about the wrong things. It's a signal, a very precise signal, that somewhere in your mind you have quietly classified something as within your control that is not within your control. Your nervous system is working exactly as it should. It is trying to protect something. The problem is that the something it's trying to protect, the outcome, the opinion, the future event, was never yours to protect in the first place. You cannot successfully guard a border that was never actually your territory. Epictetus has this incredible image he uses. He compares life to a banquet and says the wise person takes what is offered as it passes, takes their fair portion, and lets the rest go by without grasping at it or resenting it or trying to reach past their own seat to grab what's in front of someone else. Most people, he says, live like a guest at that banquet who is furious that the dish hasn't come to them yet, or panicking that it might run out before it arrives, or resentful that the person next to them got a bigger portion. All of that suffering, all of it is optional. It comes entirely from a misunderstanding about what actually belongs to you and what doesn't. Now, I want to be careful here because there's an obvious objection, and if this idea has ever been explained to you badly, you might have already had this exact objection. The objection is, doesn't this just mean giving up? If my health isn't fully up to me, should I stop trying to eat well and exercise? If the promotion isn't up to me, should I stop trying at work? If someone else's love for me isn't up to me, should I stop showing up for the relationship? No. And this is the part that most people skip past too quickly, and it's the part that actually makes the philosophy usable instead of just comforting. Epictetus is extremely clear that your actions, your effort, your preparation, your character, all of that is entirely up to you, and you should pour everything you have into it. What is not up to you and what you must release is the outcome. This is sometimes called the archer's analogy, and it comes up again and again in Stoic writing. An archer does everything within their control. They select the best arrow, they check the wind, they draw the bow with proper form, they aim with total focus. All of that is theirs. But the moment the arrow leaves the bow, a gust of wind can knock it off course. and that is no longer within the archer's power. A wise archer pours everything into the form and the aim, and then releases the arrow with a kind of clean, complete release, both physically and mentally. They do not run down the field chasing the arrow, trying to steer it with their mind. That would be absurd. And yet this is exactly what we do every single day with our anxious thoughts. We fire the arrow of our effort and then spend the next 3 hours mentally running down the field, trying to steer it through sheer force of worry. So the practice isn't apathy, it's precision. You put everything into what's actually yours: your effort, your honesty, your preparation, your attention, your response. And then you consciously, deliberately release your grip on the part that was never yours. The outcome, the reaction, the verdict, the future. This is not resignation. It is actually the most efficient way to live, because it means 100% of your energy goes into the only lever you've ever actually had, instead of being split between that lever and an illusion of control over things that were never going to respond to your worrying anyway. Let's make this even more concrete, because I think the real power of this idea only shows up when you apply it to specific situations. So let's run through a few. Take health anxiety. You get a strange symptom and your mind spirals into worst-case scenarios. What's up to you? Booking the appointment, describing your symptoms honestly, following medical advice, taking care of your body day to day. What's not up to you? Your genetics, the randomness of biology, what the test results actually say, how your body responds to treatment. The anxious mind tries to control the second category by worrying really, really hard about it, as if enough mental effort could reach into your cells and rearrange them. It can't. But the moment you consciously say, this specific part is mine, and this specific part is not, and I will do everything I can with the part that's mine, the nervous system has somewhere to put its energy other than pure dread. Take financial anxiety. What's up to you? How you spend, how you save, whether you learn new skills, whether you apply for that job, how you negotiate. What's not up to you? The state of the broader economy, whether a company decides to lay people off, whether an investment performs the way you hoped. Notice how much lighter it feels the instant you stop trying to personally control the entire economy through worry, and instead just ask, what is the next competent action available to me right now, today? Take relationship anxiety, probably the most common one people write in the comments of videos like this. What's up to you? How you show up, how honestly you communicate, whether you treat the other person with respect, whether you're willing to have hard conversations. What's not up to you? Their feelings, their past wounds, their decisions, whether they choose to stay or go. And this one is hard, genuinely hard, because it can feel like giving up on someone to admit that their choices are not yours to control. But this is exactly backwards. Recognizing that someone else's choices belong to them is not abandoning them. It's respecting them as a separate, whole person, rather than treating them as an extension of your own will that you're anxiously trying to steer. Take social anxiety, walking into a room and feeling that tight, watch sensation. What's up to you? Your posture, your honesty, your willingness to be present, your kindness toward the people in the room. What's not up to you? Whether they find you interesting, whether they laugh at your joke, whether they invite you to the next thing. The moment you stop trying to control their judgment, which was never available to you as a lever in the first place, and start focusing purely on your own conduct, the anxiety doesn't just get smaller, it gets structurally different. It goes from this shapeless dread about being judged to a much smaller, much more answerable question. Did I behave the way I wanted to behave? That, and only that, was ever yours to determine. There's a practical exercise Epictetus' students use that I want to give you directly, because I think it's more useful than almost any meditation app trick you've been taught. It's called the morning and evening review, and it's essentially this. In the morning before your day gets loud, you ask yourself, what am I about to face today that is actually within my control? And what am I about to face that is not? You name them specifically. Then in the evening, you review the day and ask, where did I correctly place something in the category it belonged to? And where did I confuse the two? Where did I grasp at something that was never mine? And where did I fully release something I had already done everything I could with? This is not about being hard on yourself. It's diagnostic. You're training a muscle the same way you'd train any other skill, by noticing where the technique slipped and adjusting the next day. There's another version of this you can do in real time. In the actual moment anxiety spikes, it's a single question, and you can use it right now today, the next time your chest tightens. The question is this mine? Just that. Is this mine? If a worry shows up about someone else's opinion, ask, is this mine? No, it's theirs. If a worry shows up about a decision you haven't made yet, ask, is this mine? Yes, actually, that one is. Make the decision as well as you can, and then let the outcome go. If a worry shows up about something that already happened, something in the past, ask, is this mine? It was once when it was happening. It no longer is. There is no lever attached to the past. None. It has already been fired, like the archer's arrow, and running after it changes nothing except your own peace of mind in the present moment. I want to say something about why this specific idea, out of everything philosophy has produced, seems to cut through anxiety more directly than almost anything else. Most advice about anxiety focuses on managing the feeling itself. Breathe slower, relax your shoulders, distract yourself. Those things can help in the moment, and I'm not dismissing them, but they treat the symptom. Epictetus is doing something different. He's questioning the actual belief underneath the feeling. Because underneath every anxious spiral is a hidden, usually unspoken belief that says, this thing, which is not mine, needs to go a certain way for me to be okay. And as long as that belief stays in place, no amount of deep breathing will fully calm the system, because the system is responding correctly to a false piece of information you fed it. Once you correct the actual belief, once you say clearly, this was never mine to control, I did what was mine to do, the anxiety doesn't need to be managed anymore, because its actual cause has been addressed at the root. This doesn't mean you'll never feel a flicker of worry again. Epictetus wasn't promising a life without any emotion. He was offering something more honest than that. A life where your peace of mind is no longer hostage to 1,000 things that were never within your power to begin with. Your peace becomes portable. It travels with you into job interviews, into difficult conversations, into waiting rooms, into the space between sending a message and getting a reply, because it's no longer parked outside of you, waiting on someone else's decision. There's a story about Epictetus that captures this better than any explanation could. It said that his leg was broken, possibly by his master, and that he responded to the man calmly, almost gently, warning him that he would break the leg. And when it did break, he simply said, "There, I told you it would break," without any anger, without any collapse. Now, whether every detail of that story is historically precise or slightly embellished by later admirers, the point being made is unmistakable. Here was a man who had almost nothing that could be called his own in the eyes of the world. Not his body, not his freedom, not his safety. And yet he had, completely and totally, the one thing that was actually his to have. His own judgment about what any of it meant. That is the whole teaching, compressed into a single moment. They could take his leg. They could not take his judgment about his leg. And it was precisely because he understood the difference that he was, by every account, one of the calmest and most respected men of his era. So here is what I want you to actually do with this, starting today. The next time you notice that tight, anxious feeling rising in your chest, don't try to force it away. Instead, get curious about it. Ask it a direct question. What exactly are you about specifically? Not the vague version, the specific version. Then ask the second question, is the thing you're actually about, the outcome, the opinion, the future event, is it within my control or is it not? If it's within your control, go do something about it, right now if possible, because action is the antidote to anxious rumination. If it's not within your control, and be honest with yourself here, most of the time it isn't, then consciously say to yourself, this is not mine, and redirect your attention back to the part that is your own conduct, your own effort, your own next right action. This is not a magic trick that removes all discomfort from your life in one viewing. It's a discipline, the same way strength training is a discipline. The first time you try it, you'll catch yourself relapsing back into old anxious grasping within minutes, and that's completely normal. But every single time you catch it and consciously sort the controllable from the uncontrollable, you're strengthening the exact mental muscle that, over months, quietly changes the entire texture of your inner life. People who take this seriously for even a few weeks report the same thing, over and over. Not that their circumstances got easier, but that they personally got harder to shake. If this video gave you something real to work with, something you can actually use the next time your mind starts spinning, I'd genuinely appreciate it if you hit that like button. It helps me know these deeper, more practical breakdowns are actually landing. And it helps this video reach other people who need to hear it today. And if you haven't already, subscribe. This channel exists to walk through exactly this kind of thing together. Ancient ideas that actually hold up under the weight of a modern, anxious, overstimulated life. And there are hundreds of people in this community doing that work alongside you, one idea at a time. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Down in the comments, tell me what other topics from this world of self-improvement and ancient philosophy you'd like me to dig into next. Stoicism has an answer for almost everything. Anger, grief, jealousy, the fear of death, the need for other people's approval. And I'd rather build this channel around what's actually useful to you than what I assume you want to hear. So tell me, what's next? Until then, remember the only sentence you actually need to carry out of this video. Some things are up to you, almost everything else is not. Put your energy entirely into the first category, release your grip on the second, and watch how much lighter the rest of your life becomes.